so I mean, I was really, really happy that I got to keep it for the final six because after that, it was going to expire. And so I knew I wanted to play it or had to play it, honestly. And it was perfect. It gave us the numbers, it was at six. I was able to block one vote, and so it'd be 3-2. Even though there's another idol at play, I had no idea there was a knowledge and power in play. That was crazy. But like leading up to it, it just seemed very obvious that the people I've been working with and like placing so much trust in and had been so loyal to me up till that point. Kristina playing her idol for me, Sage working with me and protect. She could have easily voted me out in the first swap when it was 3 Uli members versus me, the one Hina. But we decided to work together. She honored her word. Saved me there. And then honestly, like the same thing with the Nate vote, we'd worked together. And so at that point, I thought we had built such a foundation of trust and we were like all working together on the same page. And I think I was maybe a little bit blind to the fact that just because I wanted to sit with them at the end, they maybe didn't feel the same way. And so going into it, my logic was very simple. I was like, I know Savannah is one of the 3 people that are gonna be throwing votes on me. So I'm gonna block her vote. And then Rizo and Soph, we'll see where their votes go, but I was like just doing the best I could trying to get the numbers in my favor. So I had to play it before I went to Tribal Council, which was honestly like a unique mechanic that I had never seen in a season leading up to that. Maybe it has happened. I'm not as big of a super fan as I think some people that are playing the game, so maybe it's happened before, but yeah, I basically had to, right before we left for Tribal Council, I was the last person to talk to production and I was able to say whose vote I wanted to block, and at that moment, the advantage no longer existed, even though I saved it as a souvenir, put it in my little packet for later, because I was like, I'm not giving this up. This is a cool keepsake from this awesome experience. But yeah, I knew going into Tribal that the advantage was gone. And like, that was kind of scary too, because, sometimes you want the flexibility to be able to change whose vote you're blocking based on what you hear in Tribal Council. Tribal Council is like 99% theater. Like it's 99% theater. It's all politics. And like, people are all acting and they're all incredible actors. And nothing anyone says is true, but like sometimes you get like this little spidey sense, like the hairs on the back of your neck stick up, and I was a little bummed that like I had to burn that advantage before I left, because I was like, dang, if like let's say I like want to switch it up for whatever reason, I don't have that ability to do that. So yeah, so anyway, that's how it worked, and that's what I decided to do. I didn't think it was unfair. It's a game, right? And like, I was just happy to have some sort of advantage. I will say I ran around an entire island and I was hoping it might be something a little bit more powerful given all the effort that I put in to get it. I was really hoping it was going to be an idol or something, bigger. But honestly, it was, a poor carpenter blames their tools. And like, I was like, I was given this awesome tool, this awesome advantage, regardless of the mechanic. This is an opportunity for me to shake things up and really flip the game in my favor. And so I was like, I didn't look at it as being unfair. I just looked at it as having an opportunity, because like, that's all the game is you just have to seize these moments and these opportunities when you have them. Yeah, I'm sure she probably regrets it too, but like, yeah, of course, like that's the more powerful advantage to take. Especially in hindsight now, knowing that they knew they had the numbers and they were all about to blindside me. Like, it's just kind of unnecessary to take my block vote, because like even with that, they still had the numbers anyway. So it was kind of like, it just felt a little bit like mean. I don't know, like they were like, let's just twist the knife a little bit and like steal his like one advantage that he earned, even though we don't need to take it. And so, yeah, I don't know. I was honestly shocked. One, that she had the knowledge is power. Like, kudos to Sophie. Like, she hid that so well and like played that masterfully. She had this like ace in her sleeve. And then when she started reading that and like looking at me, I was like, you're going to take mine? But I knew I didn't have it. And so that's why I was grinning. And at that moment, I was feeling extremely confident that the vote was going to go the way I wanted it to. Of course it didn't, but that's the game. So I don't know. Yeah, my spidey senses were going off left and right. I mean, there were a lot of moments that kind of led me to question whether things were actually going to go the way I wanted to. First off, we get back from the immunity challenge, and Sage and Kristina immediately go chat on the beach for quite a while without me. And like, we're 3 people, and like, we don't necessarily always need to talk. Like, I trust that they would clue me in on what they talked about after. And that's what happened, is like Kristina came, and that's when we had our one-on-one talk, and she let it slip that I was in the conversation as someone that they might write the name down of. And like, I was like, why was I even in consideration? Like, what the heck? And then after that, Kristina stumbled and she like tried to do damage control. After that, she went and talked to Sage again immediately right after. And I was like, why are you going? Are you like trying to get your story straight again, or let Sage know like, oh, I accidentally said this, but I think it's good. And so like that was kind of putting some alarm bells off. I also talked to Rizo right afterwards. And he had mentioned, I kind of mentioned, like, I had the weirdest conversation with Kristina. She just said this. And leading up to this vote, Rizo and I had been talking a lot more. He was trying to suss out what my advantage is. But I think both of us were trying to, like, leave doors open in case, like, we decided to work together in the future. And so I was starting to get to know Rizo. And I was like, maybe he'll confide in me. Maybe. And so I just said, hey, this like really weird conversation happened. What do you make of it? And he was like, oh, Kristina, like, I wouldn't worry about it. And I'm like, why are you defending my ally to me? Wouldn't this seem like a good opportunity to drive a wedge between us? And so like that kind of tipped me off too, that maybe they had been in cahoots more than I gave them credit for. But honestly, I just trusted, I just felt in my head, I was like, logically, it just makes sense. We've got 3 votes. We have a chance to like swing the majority in our favor and like really go into final 5 with the numbers and the ability to control the game and control who goes to, final 4. And like, hopefully we can all sit together. So even with all those alarm bells going off, I got a little blinded and I was like, maybe it's going to work out in my favor. There really wasn't much more I felt like I could do though. I was like, what do I say that I haven't already said?
Yeah, and like you knew you had to play your advantage here, you know what I mean? So it's not like you could like save it to deploy it at a different time and use it strategically differently, you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, in that moment, I stand by it. I feel really bad that got aired. Like for every critical thing I said about Kristina, I said like 20 amazing things. Like she's truly someone that I care about a lot and love, like as a human. And like we worked really closely in the game, and she was incredibly loyal to me. She played her idol for me. So in that moment, I think I was just a little frustrated because, there were moments even before that didn't make the edit, but like. There were conversations sometimes like we'd have a plan and then she'd go talk to someone and she would forget the plan or like, forget details. And like, I get it. Like you're out there and it's tiring and like, things slip, but we were so late in the game. And when you get down to 6, there's no room for error. And like every little thing that someone says could be used against you. And so when she did that, I was like, oh my God, I was like, no. And so I do regret saying that. I think that, she's a much better game player than I think is being reflected currently. And so I feel terrible for making that joke. But at the moment, like, I did feel like she was being really sloppy. And it was just very frustrating to me because I was like, I thought we had this plan. Like, why are we deviating from this plan that seemed so perfect? And so that should have been another red flag. I just was going 65 miles an hour in a school zone, blasting by all these red flags like they were nothing, dude. That's Survivor for you. I didn't think you were allowed to. I don't know. Like, I was kind of like, what the hell? Like, why are they able to like strategize? Like, I don't know. I maybe thought maybe that was part of the rules that I just didn't see. It's not my place to step in and mediate when things are right or wrong. Yeah, I don't know. It's not that I don't think it changed too much, but like the fact that they were able to have that conversation was something I didn't know that you could do, but I don't know. Yeah, it's like out of my control.
I didn't know that you could do that either. I was kind of like, it's either you play your idol or you don't get to, I feel like you have to decide by yourself, right? But
yeah, it's one of those things. Like I felt like the most I felt you could be like, like nod or like wink or like make like gestures, but I didn't think you could have full on conversations once they got back and like we're getting ready to read the votes. But at the same time, I was also tired, sleep deprived. I just ran around an island and won this advantage. And so I was completely gassed. And I was like, maybe I just missed part of the rules. And like, maybe this is fine. I don't know. But like, yeah, it took me by surprise too when that happened. Not really. There's not like in this specific episode. No, I think that
their previous episode.
I think previous episodes, yeah, I wish that they had showed Sage and I's relationship, I think, a little bit more. Her and I were pretty in lockstep throughout the entire game. Ever since the Bottoms Up Alliance formed with that first vote where Jawan and Sage, I was able to convince them to keep me over one of their fellow Uli members, which would have been the very easy vote and would have been the easily explainable thing to do once the merge happened after that tribal council. But yeah, her and I were in lockstep. Like, I knew that the votes were going to go on Alex when he was being blindsided. Jawan and Sage both told me that, but we all agreed that it made sense for me to vote the wrong way so that we wouldn't tip off the fact that I knew, because that would then let people know that we were working really closely together. And so our whole point of doing that was we wanted Jawan and Sage to try to rebuild trust with their fellow Uli members that they had blindsided, both with Shannon and both with Nate. But at this point, now they had voted together for the MC vote and would be voting together for the Alex vote. And so hopefully that would bring their, they'd be like, okay, they're with us. And we were setting it up. We called it Operation Space Jam. It was so silly. But the first part of Space Jam was to me vote incorrectly so that people wouldn't know that we were working together. And then phase 2 was to blindside Savannah. And then Yellow Sophie comes in with this brilliant move. She flips, and like that was a huge blind spot in my game. And like hats off to her. That was an incredible move to blindside Jawan. But that was like, yeah, like that didn't really get shown. That really didn't get reflected. And it makes sense because of course that plan blew up on the launch pad. But yeah, I don't know. We worked really closely together, and we're really close, obviously, outside the game too. So I was like, oh man, like I wanted to see me and my friend talking game, So yeah. Dude, that was brilliant. I mean, honestly, I think that is a knock on us for not knowing the mechanics of it. And like, I guess like I learned later that that's like a common, like they expire at 5. Like everyone's like, why did you even buy that? And I'm like, I'm not as big of a super fan as others that were out there. So that was something that I just was not aware of. But like nobody that I was working with really saw that coming. So, great bluff on his part and like masterful move to like hold on to that thing and not have to play it for a 3rd time now. So like hats off. I was very impressed, and he's a very impressive person, and I'm glad I got to play the game with him and get to know him as a person outside the game too. Like he's incredible. I know. I mean, from my perspective, it blew my mind. It was like none of the moves that were being made sense. Like I thought we had like a pretty solid 7-person alliance, and I know that we didn't formally like put a name on it or talk about it, but like we had just come together to vote out Nate, and it just seemed like it would be easy to pick off the others that were working against us. And the first, MC gets voted out, and not only that, but Rizo comes back with his idol. I was like, what the heck? I wasn't surprised to see Sophie. I was just surprised that both her and MC didn't come back. I was like, what happened? And yeah, like from my perspective, I was also trying to downplay my threat level. So like when they come to me, for example, with this plan, like, hey, we're gonna vote Alex out like at the last minute, like I'm like, why not Rizo? Why not Savannah? Like, why are things changing? But for me, I was like, Alex is someone that eventually we're going to have to vote out. So this works for me. I don't get blood on my hands, and I get to live and fight another day. And I get to kind of minimize my threat level. People don't see me as like someone that was orchestrating this vote. So maybe they won't see me as big of a threat, and they'll let me kind of snake farther forward at their own demise. And that's really what I was trying to do the entire merge game, because I came in and like it was between Nate and I was like, dang, I'm already getting clocked. Like my whole strategy was to come in like a supermassive black hole, and that didn't work very well because people were like, dude, we got to get Steven out. And so yeah, I just kind of felt like my back was up against the wall. People were like, Steven, you're just too likable, and like you're too nice, and they just didn't think they could beat me at the end. I don't know, but like, yeah, I wanted to get them out. I was like, why does this keep happening? And I thought this was finally our chance to strike and get the 3 of them and break them apart. And when it didn't happen, I was like, dude, am I just like missing out on something like fundamental? Like, is it me? Like, am I blind to like some big picture part of the game? Like, is there something happening behind the scenes that I'm not privy to that is like, that is making these decisions make sense? And it's been a little bit vindicating to kind of watch the episodes back and realize that no, like I was clued in on pretty much for the most part what was going on with respect to like conversations that my allies were having. But like, dude, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, that's for them to explain. And like, that's what's awesome about Survivor though, is like 2 people can look at the same thing and walk away with like a different impression on what is the right path forward. And like, nobody's wrong. I mean, they got both Kristina and Sage one step further in the game, and at the end, like you're just trying to get to the next stage. And I would have loved that I could have been there for it. I thought that was the right move. I still think that was the right move for us, but it worked for them. And so that's just the way the game works, and like no hard feelings.